Hello and welcome back to Suspended Fanimation. I'm your host, Dennis Bithoulkas, and it's time for another episode of What If. So, what if episode 4? What if Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands? All right. Before we get started, let me take care of some business first and then we'll get down to it. If you like what you see here, like, share, and subscribe. If you're still on the fence about subscribing, take a look at the video that pops up at the very end here. Basically, YouTube takes the algorithms of all the stuff you've been watching and tries to match it as best as possible. One of the videos, my vast video library, pops up there just for you. And if you like what you see there, hit that subscribe button down below there. Also, if you want to know when I'm going to be on live again next, hit the bell down below. It's a 50-50 chance of YouTube actually notifying you. Best thing to do is go to suspendedfanimation.com. Take a look at the schedule up there. I change it out every week. Also, I have all the links to my social media there, so Twitter, Instagram, Patreon. And I have the links to this YouTube channel, my Facebook page. And for those of you who still have Facebook, a Facebook group page where you guys can post stuff and chat amongst yourselves. Raymond says, am I the only one here? This episode is, yeah, you, I guess you are the only one here at the moment. So I gave plenty of time for notification on this one. So who knows what's going on. All right. So like I said before, I'm going to do like a little bit of a spoiler-free version at the beginning here. And then we'll get down to the spoiler portion. That spoiler portion down there. Okay. So if you haven't seen the Doctor Strange movie, go and watch it. This is actually a precursor to this episode, if you will, since this is about Doctor Strange and also deals a lot with it. Also, I would say, Endgame. Endgame would probably be good as well, because there is some stuff from Endgame that plays into this a little bit as well, because there is time travel involved, and of course, the Loki series as well, because you have the whole timeline and alternate timeline things going on. So with that said, this is a very dark episode. And it is the first time you actually get interaction between the characters and the Watcher. So the Watcher has been our guide through all of this, and it's the first time we've actually gotten a chance to actually have these characters interact together in this, and so that's a first in this. And that's not really giving anything away at this point too either. So Raymond says all what if episodes assume that you know the Marvel movies. They do, and they also all are canon. So everything that happens in the what ifs, everyone's gonna go, well, it's animated, so it's not real. It's not part of the no, it's part of the MCU. Kevin Feige has said early on, everything that is on Disney Plus in the Marvel series, the MCU series, including the animated series, it's all canon. So yes, everything that happens here is also part of the bigger MCU. So, and yes, I know, Penn, I knew you liked this episode because of who's in it. With that said, that's about as much non-spoiler stuff I can do. It's a good episode. Go and watch it. It wasn't my favorite episode out of this. It was my second favorite episode out of the 4 that we've seen so far. So with that said, spoiler alert, I am going to spoil the episode. If you have not seen the episode, go and watch it. Come on back. This will be a video. You can comment down below in the comment section. Give you a little bit of time to go and watch it. You can hit the pause here and then go and watch it. All right. We good? All right. So, I actually liked the horror aspect of this. I read Doctor Strange comics in the 90s, early aughts as well. And it's good. It's good stuff. And this is the Doctor Strange that I kind of remember of doing more of the getting into the weird stuff, if you will, and him having the whole how should I say this? Conflict of interest, and then between what he wants and what he should do. And this is actually one of those best stories where you have the conflict of what he wants and what he should do being at odds with each other, and they're just such great consequences for his actions. And I believe it's Watu, as he says at the end, he says, one life, one choice, one universe. And that's pretty much what happens here, is because of this one point in time that he can't let go of. And by the way, this whole episode is if you've never seen the movie The Time Machine. So, The Time Machine has been done a couple different ways. The H.G. Wells version. There's a Guy Pearce version that was done in 2003, 2005, somewhere around there, which it takes this premise precisely the exact same way. The Doctor Strange keeps going back over and over and over again and trying multiple ways to save Christine, but he can't, because she's an absolute point in time that changes him and makes him Doctor Strange, because the universe needs Doctor Strange in order to defeat Dormammu. And if you haven't seen The Time Machine with Guy Pearce, it's a good movie. It's actually a good movie. It's the same premise. His fiance gets killed and he invents the time machine. He keeps going back trying to save her over and over and over again. And since he can't, he ends up going to the future to see what, if there's an answer there. And he does find that answer. So, and it's the same answer that Doctor Strange gets too. Raymond says, is this Owatu? Because there's more than one watcher. There is more than one watcher, but this is Owatu. He's the one that normally gets involved with Earth. And even though he says, he can't interfere with anything, he usually does. He kind of does an aside, and he kind of steps in and tells Earthlings, he goes, by the way, shit's about to happen. I can't interfere, but here's how you can stop it, is what he tells them. I think there's only been once or twice where he's literally gotten involved in it to help that kind of stuff, from happening. Raymond says, I was just about to say that Pierce is great. Yeah, Pierce is a great actor. And if you've never seen the movie Rover, go and watch it. It's a very understated, it's a very slow fucking movie, but the payoff is great at the very end. Jody says, Dennis, when they talked about fixed points in time, it made me think Doctor Who. Fixed points in time has been a time travel staple. That's why you hear Nexus. Marvel is one of those. It's one of those comics that actually talks a lot about Nexus points. You heard about it in Loki, actually, where Loki, the Lokis, the female Loki and the male Loki, were a Nexus point when they got together. Scarlet Witch herself is supposed to be a Nexus in time. She is a movable Nexus. She's not a Nexus point, but she herself is a Nexus. And what that means is it's something that can't be changed. It is something that is pivotal to a timeline and essential to a timeline for, maintaining that timeline. Is basically what Marvel has gotten to. So, yeah. I could probably go into it deeper, but I don't want to really bore the shit out of people. It's like I said, time travel shows, things like that, time travel sci-fi stuff is my jam, as someone would say. It is one of those things that I really like. It's one of those things I've really gotten into, and it's the complexity of time travel and also what happens. It's a good theoretical exercise and mind game to find out, just to think about, time travel events and things like that and what would happen. And yeah, that's one of the things that's actually kind of good when you start reading different sci-fi stories or seeing different sci-fi things and how people approach it. So, Movie Fanobi says, was a good episode, but also the Super Fridge episode, episode 2, still best. Jody says, I half expected Strange to say, no, the laws of time are mine and they will obey me. Yeah. RIP, you mean the lawn gnome that he pulled up? I did find that pretty funny when he's he's calling up all these different demons to absorb. And the first one let's start off something small. And he starts off with a lawn gnome. He brings one of those up, and it's an evil lawn gnome. So you don't feel so bad about him absorbing that one. And yeah, it was kind of cool. I did like that. Jetty says it's also hard to get right in stories, but a good time travel story can be fun. Yeah, that's the other thing too, is if you don't set up your time travel story, if you don't set up your Bible of how your time travel is going to work, you can fuck up your own story. Looper, for example. Looper fucks up everything in the last 15 minutes of the story because it sets up this, timeline of how their time travel works and then completely ignores it in the last 15 minutes of the movie, thereby invalidating what you just watched and feeling pissed off at the end of it. So that's, one of those things you're just like, yeah, fuck you. Yeah. Raymond K. Hessel says, "Hey, bro, I majored in physics. Bore us away. I also love time." Yeah, I don't want to bore everyone else though, and I do want to stick to talking about this episode more than anything else. Jody says, "Was that Shumagorath he summoned?" It could have been, but we never saw the eye. It's usually he's really big. Yes, he has tentacles, but it's also like this gigantic eye and whatnot, and I don't know. I think they wanted to say it was Cthulhu, or they could have even tied it in with Captain Carter and whatever she was fighting. I think that was what the tie-in was with what Captain Carter was fighting. So, yeah. And yes, he did he kept himself frozen. He didn't keep himself alive. He basically just kept himself frozen in time, is what he did. He used the Eye of Agamotto to basically freeze himself in time, but still work within it, which is interesting. Raymond says, yeah, it's really a ballsy house of cards. It really is. When you start doing time travel, you really have to be fucking committed to it if you're doing a time travel story, and you really have to think about what you're doing. And honestly, it's like one of those murder boards, where people have string all over the place. That's what you almost need to do when you're doing a time travel story, is you need to create one of those things so you keep everything straight and narrow. That's why still to this day, the best time travel story that ties up fucking everything in a beautiful little bow is 12 Monkeys, the TV series that they did for sci-fi. I was a big skeptic of it when it first came out. And then you watch the last fucking episode and they tie together every goddamn thing from season 1 on in a beautiful little package. And that's the way you want to do it. I mean, that's seriously the way you want to do it. That's probably the best version of time travel you will ever see. As sci-fi, I should say. Who knows if time travel is real or not? According to Einstein, no, it's not. Can't go backwards. You can only go forwards. Jody says, oh, that's right. Wasn't it the same entity? It might have been. Yeah. Yeah. 12 Monkeys is awesome, Jody. Yeah, it's really good. It starts off slow, but by the second season, it just gets up and running, and yeah, it goes from there. And then it just goes into fucking weirdness, and then yeah, season 4, you're like, what the fuck is going on? And then season 5, I think is it 4 seasons or 5 seasons? Well, anyway, it's the season before the last season gets really weird, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? So, hey, thanks, Boof, but you didn't need to do that for Ben's addiction to Benedict's Cumberpatch. Yes. And I did wear my little Doctor Strange shirt there, as you can. This my Funko Doctor Strange for this episode. Can't really see it all that well, but hey, it's there. Raymond says there are many ways to interpret Einstein's equations. Black holes to quantum entanglement. Physics is weird. Yeah, physics is really weird. Yeah, and it's just, I also love Futurama's version of it, where the professor invents a time travel machine, but it only go forward. And he figures if he goes forward enough, he can find that they've worked on time travel technology enough where they can find a way to get back. And instead, they have to keep going forward, and they find that the time is cyclical. and that the universe just keeps reinventing itself and everyone keeps, living it over and over again, throughout the whole timeline. And that one, it's one of my favorite Futurama episodes. It's pretty funny. Yeah. Because of course they miss they go through the one iteration, they come back around, they miss it, and they're like, "Fuck, we have to go around again." So they're going around a second time around, and yeah, and of course the professor wants to kill Hitler, and he's like, "Just, just let me lean out the window as we're going by." And he takes a shot and instead gets Eleanor Roosevelt, which is just in its own weird list, which is fucking funny. Yeah. And of course, there's the whole weirdness of Umbrella Academy and their time travel, which is really good as well. Yeah. So, with that said, good animation too. I love the fight scene between Doctor Strange and himself, and the Ancient One hitting him with a blast to separate, having two timelines within the same universe made my head hurt when I was thinking about it. I was thinking two timelines in the same universe. How does that work? And I had to stop thinking about it because my brain was just really, I was heading towards an aneurysm on that one. So yeah, I was just like, I'm just gonna let it roll and just see where it goes. Jody says, Dennis, what about Rick and Morty? They have fun with their time travel on that show too. They do. Um, I don't know if you watched the last episode of season 4 that just aired a couple weeks ago, but there was kind of a big revelation that happened, and it made a lot more sense of stuff. And yeah, I mean, he's not really so much time traveling as he's dimension hopping, is what he's doing. He's going to alternate dimensions, is what he's doing. He's not time traveling. So there is a difference in Rick and Morty where he's not time traveling, he's dimension hopping. But they do this last episode was a time travel, if you will, but in someone's mind. So the last episode, I should say, they aired. Yeah. So fairly interesting. Raymond says, so do you think this episode has any effect on Spider-Man? So yes, thank you for bringing that up, Raymond. I was going to mention that. So at the end of this episode, we have this Doctor Strange universe collapse around him, and he winds up inside of a gem. And I started to think, is this gem going to in any way have an effect on the MCU? Is someone going to find this gem and possibly be affected by it or possibly use it? And that was the thing I started thinking of. And I was like, possibly, maybe this Doctor Strange, who is trapped in this gem, ends up affecting the Strange that we see in Spider-Man No Way Home. Because a lot of people are saying that in that trailer, Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange looks a little bit different in certain scenes, especially when he's casting the spell. So who knows? It could be a possibility. But then again, Sony is the one that is running that. I know Marvel has input on it as well, but I don't know. These are the things I think of, Jody. This is what happens when you're a nerd like me. These are the things I look at when I'm reading comics or watching comics or any of this stuff that has to do with comics. That's kind of what I grew up with. And so this is the thing that I love about comics is that if you have read them, your mind is open to a whole bunch of different possibilities, a whole bunch of different thoughts, a whole bunch of different realities, if you will, a different way of thinking of things. And that is one of those things I think might get lost as newer generations are not reading as many comics, but it might actually be saved by doing these movies, these TV series, things like that, and just getting people exposed to thinking differently. And having that possibility and maybe even thinking in abstract terms. And that's what this is. You're thinking in abstract terms when you start thinking multiple realities, two timelines within the same universe. I mean, come on, that's a mind blower as it is. And that's what you want of people, is to actually stretch their imagination, open their minds, and start thinking. Yeah. Raymond says, because this doctor has no qualms about affecting the timeline. Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't. Well, one of them didn't, then the other one who she split into did. So they're, yeah. And I'm wondering, is the other Doctor Strange who didn't go and use the Eye of Agamotto, if he's still in there someplace and he is still affecting this Strange, or what's going on? Thanks, Jody. But it'd be interesting to see if that's what's going to be the case in Spider-Man No Way Home. Which may get delayed, quite honestly. So much stuff is getting delayed now from theaters that were supposed to come out this year. Um, there's a lot of stuff that just got moved over to 2022. Like all of Tom Cruise's movies, I think, got moved over to 2022 just as of today. Like late 2022 as well. So, yeah. Movie Fanobi says, well, he could be under the influence or might not be him. Trailers get edited very creatively. Yeah, they do. And also the Marvel trailers will digitally omit people or add stuff in that you're not, they are trying to, of course, actively discourage people from knowing what the hell the plot's about, which is great because you do want to be surprised when you go in and see a movie. You don't want to know the whole fucking thing from beginning to end. And before you go in, I've done that before where I've spoiled, I've gotten spoiled about the movie and go in and it's not the greatest experience that it could have been if I didn't know what it was before going in. So he also says these what if aren't connected to MCU that I'm aware, but maybe some interconnected episodes. There are some interconnected episodes. But these are supposed to be also part of the MCU as well. Yeah. Raymond says there really is no replacement for the power of our imagination. TV and movies will never surpass books and comics, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree with you. But this will help. This will actually push people towards going, hey, where's the source material for this? Oh, it's here in a comic. It's a digital comic. Okay, great. I can go through it. Easy access, that kind of stuff. As we used to say in the comic book industry, first hit's free, you know? You don't need drug dealers, you just need comic book store owners who are willing to push it. Hey, Mr. Roboto. So, so with that said, what else do I have going on this week? Well, tomorrow is going to be Morks's favorite show, and I know Morks isn't here. He'll come up later in the chat, or he'll come up in the comment section. But Titans, we're going to get a new episode of Titans tomorrow, and Friday I'll be off. Saturday will be Saturday Morning Blast Off, where I take the genre news of the weekend and genre stuff you guys want to talk about, and we talk about it. Sunday will be Spoiler Alert, where we basically can talk about anything spoilerific. If you want to spoil away, I'm not going to see Shang-Chi in the movie theaters, but if you guys are going to, that's fine. You can still spoil it away. Yeah, I really am not there yet. So Monday I'll be off. Tuesday will be another episode of Is It Worth My Time? I don't know what I'm going to be doing as of yet. I will think about it and have to get back to you guys on that. And then Wednesday we're back around again to another episode of What If. Yeah. Raymond says, what comic book shop did you used to own? So I didn't own it for very long. I'll tell you that. And I'll tell you what the whole thing was. So my comic book store was called Four Color Comics. It was up in Davis, California. It was, I opened it literally on the day the Death of Superman came out. That's when I opened mine up. Um, and my hours were 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. because I was in a college town, right? So it was open later. And also because I was downtown, that's when the most foot traffic was through because people are going to bars and stuff like that too. And people will go in at 1 o'clock, and 1 o'clock in the afternoon till 10 p.m. People are going to come in, that kind of stuff. Well, the diamond distributors at the time sent out what was called a verification of retailer status, is what it's called when you first, set up a business kind of thing. And I didn't realize I wasn't getting my mail because I was only open at 1, and mail dropped off in the morning. So they never dropped off my mail and never told me about it. So I never got my verifications of retailer status. And so all my comics that because you have to order 3 months ahead of time, got pulled. All my orders got pulled. Yeah. So when you lose, months of supplies of comics ahead of time, that's when shit kind of hits the fan right there. And yeah. So I ended up working out a deal with somebody else. Someone else took over the store, bought it out for me. And there we go. That's where you have it. I did make a lot of money off of it to initially begin with, but yeah. Jody says, "Holy shit, seriously?" Yeah. That's pretty much what happened. That's it in a nutshell. I don't think I've ever shared that story on air before, but yeah, that's pretty much what happened. Yeah, you notice I have that verification of retailer status like tattooed on my brain. That's going to be with me until I die. So, yeah, I know exactly what that was. Yeah, supposedly the mail carriers had a whole stack of mail just sitting for me at the post office, but never bothered, posting a message on the window saying, "Hey, we're holding your mail." So, yeah. There was no mail slot in the door, so it was a clusterfuck. Raymond says, "Oh man, what a kick in the nuts! You can't stop the waves from coming, but you can learn how to swim." Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what? Actually, it wasn't too bad anyway. Um, I hate to say it, but comic book store ownership is a dog eat dog business, and you really, 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 really have to be. You have to sacrifice a lot in order to do it. You really do. It's kind of funny as I was opening up my store, the other two comic book stores in town, one was closing down anyway already, and then the other one was still open. And they both came to me within like days, asking me to buy them out. Yeah. That should have been the warning sign right about there, too. uh, but yeah, no, I had my model. Mine was nice and bright. It wasn't dingy or anything like that. I had nice windows in the front. It used to be an old, the store that was in there before me was a travel agency. So yeah, it was nice and bright. It was good size. I had custom built shelves, all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I did okay. I did all right. And the guy who took over was there for a while, so that was good. He was actually selling stuff out of his garage as it was, and he had a subscriber base, so it was good. And he just took over my subscriber base, gave me some money, and we were done. So, yeah, it was a nice place, man. I did it. I modeled it after. So who my mentor was in the comic book industry was, and you probably heard the name before because he has worked on Comic Cons and stuff like that. Joe Fields of Flying Color Comics in Concord, California. And so Joe Fields and I mean, I used to buy comics from him back when I was a teenager. And the scary thing about Joe is he remembers every fucking person's name who comes in through that door, no matter how long you've been away. He will. If I go in now and I haven't seen Joe in, I'll say conservatively, I haven't seen Joe in over 20 years. I can almost guarantee you he will remember my name even though I think he's in his 70s now, is where he's at. And yeah, I'm fairly sure he'll remember me without missing a beat. Man is sharp. He is also like one of the nicest people too, and gave me tons of advice. I told him what I was doing. I picked his brain for a little while, and he was gracious enough to actually give me all that information. So, yeah, Joe, if you're out there, man, you know who you are. Yeah. Jody says you get shot down on the first day. uh, what if the watcher? Oh, yeah. Okay. Raymond says, in this world, which superpower do you consistently wish you had? Oh, you know, I don't know about one or the other. I mean, if anything, it would be the power to mimic other powers. So basically, you can get any power that you want, whether it be flight or regeneration or, uh, super strength or super speed or, that kind of stuff. I think that would be more useful than anything else. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you don't have any super strength or invulnerability or anything like that, your ability to fly, you're having jumped out of an airplane before. I can tell you, it's fucking cold as balls up there, and even at a couple of 100 feet, it's still fucking cold. So, yeah, you really want to, make sure that you can withstand that temperature. Oh wow, you're pulling up a Heroes reference, Peter Petrelli's power. Uh yeah, kind of, I guess you could say, in a way. But yeah. All right. So, what if you only got the power of self-resurrection? You wouldn't be able to do that if you had, you'd be dead. And what do? You resurrect automatically, or do you have to use your power and you'd be dead? So how could you use your power to resurrect yourself? Unless you're resurrecting erections or something like that. I don't know. That's what Viagra is for, from what I understand. So, Raymond says, going back to the episode, did you tear up at all? I felt more. Yeah, I actually did at the end there. It was the whole line that the Watcher used about the one life, one choice, one universe thing. That's actually kind of where it hit me. Yeah. So, um, the Hulk, no, I've actually seen that whole thing where Hank Pym, and I want to say it's a what if. It's kind of buried in my memory someplace, but I have seen Hank Pym explode the Hulk before. That's why I knew it was the pituitary gland and not his heart that Hank Pym had hit. Um, because I remember that being a point of contention someplace down the line. Someone had talked about it, and that's how Ant-Man can defeat the Hulk. Is he just basically shrinks down, goes to his ear, hits the pituitary gland with his tech, and just makes the pituitary gland overreact, which is what gives you muscle growth as well. And yeah, I want to say it was a what if comic, is what it was, Raymond. So I think that was literally taken from one of the what if comics. Yeah. Jody says the sequence when Strange was trying to save Christine was simply good. Yeah, that but the thing is, again, like if you go and take a look at the time machine with Guy Pearce, it's the same sequence where over and over again he's trying to save her, and there's different ways that he's trying to do things. At one point he even doesn't show up and she still dies because the building explodes. And in a nice little callback as well, the reporter that was on the TV that was that he's watching in the bar when he sees that Christine has died is actually Leslie Bibb, who was Christine Everhart in Iron Man. She's the one that Tony. She's trying to get the interview with Tony all the time in the first Iron Man, and that's a nice little callback. They brought her back again so that she could reprise that role just for this little episode. And again, that's Marvel. Marvel Studios bringing in past talent to as a callback for something as small as this, which is really nice. You know, if you've worked for them before, they bring you back. And then also, I just want to say also, Obene, who was voiced by Ike Amadi. Great job, great character in a small amount of time that he was in, being the keeper of the library of Castielog. I can't even say his name, but the library that's strange in the finding in time. Yeah. You mean Vandal Savage? Well, Vandal Savage can never die. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to let you guys go for the night. Thank you to everybody joining me tonight in the chat, and thank you if you made it this far in the video. If you're still on the fence about subscribing, take a look at the video that pops up at the very end here. YouTube takes the algorithm of all the stuff you've been watching and tries to match it as best as possible. One of the videos in my vast video library and pops up there just for you. And if you like what you see there, hit that subscribe button down below there. And if you can, hit that like button and the share button as well. And if you want to know when I'm going to be on live again next, hit the bell down below. It's a 50-50 chance of YouTube actually notifying you. Best thing to do is go to suspendedfanimation.com. Take a look at the schedule I have there. It's changed every week. Also, I have all the links to my social media, and all my pages are up there as well. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jody. Thank you, Mr. Roboto and Raymond and Penn, as always. And Movie Fanobi also for that $5. You didn't need to do that, man. Thank you, everybody. I will see you again tomorrow for Titans. And you know Marks is going to be here for that. So until then, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Otherwise, you may end up in a universe that's collapsing in on itself because of one selfish bastard. Thanks, everybody. I will see you again tomorrow. Until then, stay safe, be well, take care, wear those masks, get those vaccine shots, and stay safe out there. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow.